Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
At the church, all eyes were on Willow as she tremulously made her way down the aisle. When she reached the balcony, Elizabeth took her bouquet, and Drew reached for his bridegroom's hand. She dithered but eventually placed her hand in his. Lucy began the form, and when she got to the part about anyone with reservations speaking now or ever holding their peace, Ava eagerly scrutinized the pews to see if any of her fellow guests would pipe up. Albrecht shot Nina a pointed look, and Nina shook her head to indicate that she planned to remain silent. As Lucy spoke of the saintship of marriage, Ava caught Rick looking in Elizabeth's direction and a look of outrage flashed across her face. Lucy invited the couple to begin reciting the particular promises they had written. Drew went first, gushing about his love for Willow and promising that soon, Wiley and Amelia would be back home with them. He praised Willow's frippery and strength, and described their future as bright and beautiful. Drew pledged that he'd do everything in his power to make Willow as happy as she had made him and that they would make on their love, which formerly felt like it was bursting out of his casket. "You and me, now and ever," he beamed. Also it was Willow's turn to speak. "Drew," she began. In a slow mo shot, she withdrew her hands from his. Also, her face entwining with rage, she demanded, "Did you sleep with my mama?" Family secrets. Christina and Michael were drooling at Alexis's empty house, and when their talk turned to Cody and Molly, Christina revealed to her family that she'd hired Cody to betray Ava. Michael was confused and wanted an explanation. "I did commodity really horrible and I've been wanting to tell you about it for a long time," Christina began. She noted that she had to face the consequences of her conduct and steeled herself before confessing, "I tried to kill Ava." Rather, she added that, Rick and Elizabeth nearly failed. She extended the whole story of how she had cut the thickets on what she allowed. Was Ava's auto, but the vehicle turned out to be Rick's. "You got really, really lucky," Michael declared. Christina participated that Rick and Ava had figured out what she did. "That's bad," observed Michael. "That's really bad." Christina advised Michael that it was actually indeed worse. Rick and Ava had been exacting Alexis for plutocrat ever since. Opposite this, Christina's harsh words about Cody were ringing in Molly's cognizance as she sat with Cody on the Metro Court pool sundeck. Cody was caught off guard when, rather of chancing his badinage fascinating, she snapped at him. "I'm not falling for your advances," she lumbered. Cody denied that he'd been hitting on her. Molly brought up the way Ava had been toadying each over Cody, and Cody wondered if Christina had said commodity about him to Molly, who didn't confirm his reservations. With the pressure growing, Cody decided to move to a different chaise and told Molly to enjoy her book. He picked it up and she was embarrassed when he saw that she had been hiding a love novel inside her dupe of War and Peace. Cody roasted her, reading audibly from the book, which Molly didn't find entertaining. She told him she had been obsessed with all affects love since I was a sprat. Indeed wrote a book. Two, actually. Cody was impressed. Molly developed that her books had been named Love and Main Squeeze, and explained that she allowed. It might be time for a third investiture. She gathered her effects to leave, but before she did, she advised him to get the operative on his reverse checked out, causing Cody to horrify slightly and try to get a view of the operative in question. Back at St. Luke's, Drew's eyes widened. "What did you just ask me?" he heaved. "You heard me," Willow whizzed, repeating her blameworthiness about his solecism. He asked her where such a question was coming from, and she erupted in wrathfulness. "Stop. You literally just pledged to love me ever. Loving includes honesty, so let's be honest. While you and I were falling in love, did you sleep with Nina?" He stammered, "Before you and I said that we loved," and she cut him off. "Yes or no?" Alexis took that as her cue to rush Scout out of the church. Drew verified that he and Nina had had an hassle. "So it happened just formerly?" she snapped. "No, it happened further than formerly," he conceded. "But I no way developed passions for her." Willow shot a regard in her mama's direction and said she didn't know if that made it more or worse. Drew tried to explain that he'd been fighting his passions for Willow at the time, as she had asked him to do. "Oh, so now it's my fault?" she asked angrily. He reminded her that she had been married to Michael at the time and he'd been trying to recognize that. "So you did it for me?" she said sarcastically. Willow bellowed that Drew had done further than compromise her marriage. He'd destroyed it. Carly's, Jason, and Carly visited with Wiley, who was still bummed over Willow marrying Drew. Carly did her stylish to lift his spirits. Formerly alone with Jason, Carly vented about Willow and Drew's thoughtlessness and remarked that she couldn't believe she had formerly been romantically involved with Drew herself. They agreed that Willow wanted someone to tell her what to do, and Drew's got no problem doing that, as Jason put it. Carly editorialized that Michael was in the right to keep Willow down from the kiddies. Jason and Carly's discussion turned to their own long-ago decision to keep AJ down from Michael, and Carly bothered that Wiley and Amelia would one day be as angry with Michael as Michael had been with her. But, she noted, she and Michael had loved each other enough to get through it. Carly got emotional as she reflected on how painful it had been when Drew returned home from Greece and reported that Jason was dead. In retrospection, Carly said, she could see how she had gotten entangled with Drew as a cover for Jason. Carly could tell Jason was still allowing about the woman he'd seen in Paris who looked like Britt. Jason wondered what had happened to Britt's body, whether it had been buried or cremated. Carly was spooked that Jason might be allowing of digging up her grave. "I just have to be sure," said Jason, with Willow in flip-as-chual mode. Drew suggested they move their discussion nearly more private. "Right, then's fine," she clapped back. Willow questioned whether she and Drew had authentically fallen in love, indeed as he protested that he'd no way prevaricated about his passions for her. "I defended you," Willow said, getting decreasingly worked up as her voice filled with despisement. "People would try to advise me and I would say again and again, you're just wrong. I was adamant that you were different, better, that we were open and honest with each other, because you, Congressman Kane, were a decent and honest man. I was such an idiot." Willow berated herself for believing Drew when he'd said she was the only woman he wanted. "You were," he claimed. "Along with my mama," she shot back. Agonized, she said that him telling her she could keep her children was just another taradiddle. "Let me be clear," she said. "I would no way, ever, give up my children for you." "But that's exactly what happened," she concluded. "Every time I heeded to you, I gave Michael security against me." She indicted Drew of not minding about Wiley or Amelia, but being willing to promise anything in order to get her. "Oh, God," Willow heaved in horror. "Michael was telling the verity, wasn't he? Wiley did hear you say that Michael didn't want him and Amelia presently." Possessed, Drew told her, that was strategy, pure and simple. "I was trying to get your kiddies back for you, trying to get guardianship." Willow snarled, "Your taradiddle hurt my son, Drew. You made it possible for Michael to take my children from me. I trusted you and now I've nothing." When he reached out to her, she went ballistic and proscribed him from touching her ever again. With that, Willow stormed out of the church. Bad news peregrination fast back at Alexis's. Christina was surprised when rather of judging her, Michael raised his remorse over not being there to help you, or to stop you. Christina told him she took full responsibility for what she did and lamented that as a result of her conduct, Alexis was compromising her morals and stealing from the Cassadine Trust to keep her out of captivity. She explained that to claw back power from Rick and Ava, she was trying to get them to turn on each other, which she didn't suppose would be hard given that Rick was still carrying an arsonist for Elizabeth and had enlisted Cody to flirt with Ava to show Ava that she could do better than Rick. Chris said she was surprised by Molly's interest in Cody and broke down what she had done to plant seeds of mistrustfulness about Cody's intentions in Molly's mind. "Am I deluding myself in allowing that this is for the lesser good?" posed Christina. Michael didn't know the answer to that. The only thing he was sure of was that Christina had dug a big hole for herself. He promised to get her out of it. Christina was appreciative, but asked that Michael no way let on to Alexis that he knew about the blackmail because she would freak. Just also, Alexis returned home with Scout. The little girl reported that her pater and Willow hadn't gotten wedded. Alexis intimately informed Michael that the marriage had based to a halt because it came out that Drew had had an affair with Nina. Christina came back into the room and they filled her in on Drew and Nina's involvement, with Alexis digesting the drama of the marriage that wasn't. Michael couldn't believe that Drew had been deforming Nina the whole time he was pursuing Willow. Michael noted that Willow eventually knows who Drew really is. Drew tried to follow Willow out of the church, but Nina interdicted him in the aisle and refused to let him pass. She wrangled at while she abominated to see Willow hurt. At least now everyone knows what a poor, pathetic reason for a mortal being you are. She called him out for pursuing a wedded woman while sleeping with her mama. You were right there with me, Nina. Drew refocused out. After Nina indicted Drew of ruining Willow's life, he noted that she could have told Willow the verity any time, but you waited until her marriage day? Nina riposted that she had held her lingo because she was adhering to hope that Drew would have done the right thing and come clean. Drew suggested that Nina drop the victim act and blazon to the remaining guests that Nina was the bone who had hired the companion to medicine him. Nina scarfed that no one would believe him. People know who you're now, she teased. And you know what that means? You're done. Your credibility? Burned. Respect? Out the window. She added that the tableware filling of the day's events was knowing that Drew had lost Willow, and that Willow would no way ever be suitable to forgive him. With that, Nina paraded out. Jocelyn went to Brennan's office as he was entering a phone update about the courier, Greta. He hung up and told Joss he'd formerly gotten Vaughn's side of the story, and now he wanted hers. Brennan said it was commodity Carly had said that had raised his concern. Joss was confused, given that Brennan had assigned her and Vaughn was satisfying everyone they were dating. Brennan refocused out that Joss was new to the WSB game, and it could be confusing playing an interpretation of yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the passions that you're faking. I know what's real and what's not, combated Joss, averring that nothing real was passing between her and Vaughn. Brennan asserted that Vaughn was surely only playing a part. Joss was confident that she could handle it. Brennan also got a call from an agent who reported that the courier was on the move, and he'd tagged her to an exclusive resort on the Adriatic Sea called the Five Poppies. The agent didn't know if Greta had delivered the pack. After he hung up, Brennan noted to Joss that if the courier left the resort and the Seamus remained before, they would be one step closer to knowing who Dalton is participating his exploration with. Brennan's phone telephoned, and he cursed when he saw that the positioned Seamus had been turned off. We lost the Seamus. He lumbered to Joss. Back at the church, Martin sidled up to Lucy and asked if a lot of the observances she officiated ended in disaster. You would be surprised how numerous, she replied to Herrick's lover. Kai offered to drive Drew home, but he was pertinacious on chancing Willow. Flagging down Martin, he told the council he'd a job for him. Meanwhile, Nina reported to Liz that Willow's auto was gone. Where could she have gone, sniffed Nina. Her face barred by her cried-off makeup, Willow frenetically knocked on Carly's door. Carly slung it open and was surprised to find her former son-in-law there. I need to see my children, Willow supplicated. After leaving the church, Albrecht sidled up to a bar and ordered a triadic schnapps, noting there was much to celebrate. She gurgled to the garçon that the marriage had been the stylish, the bridegroom and bachelor didn't get wedded. Jason entered and told her he'd some questions. About your family's marriage that wasn't, she queried. About Britt, he replied. At a lab overseas, Britt slung open a door to admit a caller, Greta. You're late, Britt corrected. Greta handed her the pack, and Britt said she trusted there had been no complications. Were you satisfied with the lingo lashing Willow gave Drew? What do you suppose Britt is over to? Are you liking the eventuality pairing of Cody and Molly? Let us know your studies about Moment's dramatic occasion of GH in the commentary below. The chapel glowed with warm candlelight as guests filled the polished wooden pews, whispering about how beautiful everything looked. A soft hymn drifted from the organ. White roses lined the center aisle, their scent delicate and sweet. Everything in the room suggested peace, hope, and unity, exactly what the Corinthos family wanted for Willow, who had been through more medical battles in 1 year than anyone should face in a lifetime. Today was supposed to be gentle. A celebration. A moment of rebirth. The baptism portion of the ceremony had been added at the last minute, partly out of Willow's wish for symbolic cleansing and partly because Michael wanted his daughter to feel protected moving into her new life. Willow, finally stable after months of uncertainty, wore a pale ivory gown that shimmered under the golden lights. Her hair was pulled back with simple pearl pins. She looked fragile, emotional, grateful, still unaware that the most devastating truth of her life was a heartbeat away from being hurled straight at her. She touched her stomach reflexively, a memory of illness still lingering in her bones. Feeling alive again was a miracle, one she'd been told came from the generosity and courage of a donor whose identity remained private. Or so Carly claimed. Michael stood beside her, radiating pride. He brushed her cheek gently. "Nothing is going to ruin today," he promised. But something was already moving. Already coming. Already preparing to turn this sanctuary into a war zone. And her name was Britt Westbourne. Alive. Burning with fury. Carrying the truth that Carly had buried. And ready, prepared, to blow apart Willow's wedding in front of every single witness. Pastor Tomlinson stepped up to the altar, holding a small gold-edged book. His voice carried gently through the room, offering comforting phrases meant to soothe souls. "We gather today in the spirit of love, devotion, and rebirth. May this sacred ceremony renew hearts, strengthen bonds, and remind us of the truth that guides us forward." The guests murmured reverent agreement. Willow smiled timidly. Carly stiffened. Drew swallowed hard. Nina dabbed her eyes, hoping today would mark a new start for her daughter, a daughter she loved desperately but still felt alienated from. Little did she know, her miracle moment was approaching. And it wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It wasn't holy. It was Brittany Westbourne storming in with years of rage behind her miles away. Britt stepped out of the black SUV parked outside the church. She wore a hooded slate gray jacket, hair slightly longer, eyes sharp and fierce. The scar along her left arm, a souvenir from the night she was supposed to die, throbbed against the cool breeze. She inhaled deeply. This was the moment she had waited for. This was the day she was done hiding. This was the hour she would expose the truth Carly Spencer forced into silence. She glanced at the small device in her hand. A flash drive. Her proof. Her weapon. Her justice. "You want a wedding, Willow?" Britt whispered. "You're damn well going to get the truth first." Carly sat stiff as a fence post. She had been uneasy all morning, her gut screaming that something was about to crash down on her carefully managed world. She scanned the crowd for any suspicious faces. Her mind raced. Did Drew miss something? Did someone leak the truth? Did Nina find a clue? Did Sonny see something? Did Michael overhear something? Her heart pounded. But she forced a smile, pretending everything was perfect. Drew leaned down and whispered, "Relax. We made it this far. No one is going to ruin Willow's day." Carly didn't believe that for a second. And she shouldn't have. Because right then, exactly at the moment Pastor Tomlinson lifted the baptismal shell, the side door burst open, slamming against the wall. A cold gust of air swept in. Head snapped toward the sound. People gasped. And Willow's breath caught in her throat. Standing in the doorway. Alive. Unbroken. Beautiful. Enraged. Britt Westbourne and no, Carly whispered, face draining of color. "Nina?" Michael gasped, thinking it was some Cassadine clone trick. Willow blinked rapidly, her fingers tightening around the baptism cloth. Sonny's entire body locked up, jaw clenched tight. But no one reacted faster than Jocelyn. She sprang up, trembling, tears filling her eyes. "Britt? Britt, you're alive?" Britt's expression softened for half a second. "Hi, Joss. Miss me?" A stunned murmur pulsed through the room. Nina's eyes widened, hope flashing across her features. "Britt? My God, where have you, how?" But Britt held up a hand sharply, stepping forward with authority. "Save it. I'm not here for a reunion. I'm here for the truth. She turned her glare directly to Carly. Carly's lips trembled. She looked like a trapped animal, her breath coming in shallow gasps. You, Britt growled, her voice echoing through the chapel, are about to be exposed. Pastor Tomlinson stammered, Miss, if we could perhaps speak outside. No, Britt barked. Everyone stays. Everyone listens. Jocelyn's fingers pressed over her mouth. Michael stepped protectively in front of Willow. Dante moved subtly closer, anticipating chaos. Nina's pulse hammered. And Carly, God, Carly looked like she'd been stabbed. Britt walked down the aisle, boots tapping loudly, every step an accusation. You all thought I was dead, Britt said coldly. So did I. But life had other plans. Carly whispered, Britt, please. Save it, Britt snapped. You don't get to speak today. Her hand lifted the flash drive. This little device contains the truth you buried, Carly. The truth you kept from Willow. The truth that wrecked her health, put her life at risk, and manipulated everyone she loves. Willow's eyes widened in terror. What truth? What is she talking about? Britt inhaled deeply. The moment she had waited for had finally arrived. She pointed directly at Willow. You were dying, Willow. And you needed a donor. A perfect match. A near impossible match. Willow nodded slowly. Yes. I know. Someone saved me. Someone donated. Britt's jaw clenched. And Carly knew exactly who your biological mother was the whole time. The room froze. Willow stared, confused. My biological mother? What does that have? She's the donor, Britt finished. The one who saved your life. And Carly kept it from you for months. Michael's head jerked around to Carly, his eyes narrowing with disbelief and horror. What? Willow whispered. What did you say? Britt stepped closer, voice lowering into a dark, trembling truth. Willow, your mother is Nina Reeves. And Carly knew from the start. The room gasped so loudly it rattled the chandeliers. No, Willow whispered. That can't be right. Carly? Carly would never. Carly dissolved into tears. Drew grabbed her hand. Michael's rage rose like a tidal wave. Nina's knees buckled, Jax caught her before she fell. Willow felt her world split open. Carly? Willow begged desperately. Carly, tell me she's lying. Carly's face said everything. And Britt didn't wait for Carly's cowardly silence. Oh, she's not lying, Britt growled. She hid your DNA results. She lied to your face. She chose to risk your life because she hated Nina more than she cared about you. Willow's mouth opened in a silent, breathless scream. Tears streamed down her cheeks. You did this to me? Willow whispered. You let me almost die? Carly sobbed harder. Willow collapsed into the pew. But Britt wasn't finished. Not nearly. Britt turns her fury on Drew. You think Carly did this alone? Britt snarled. Oh no. She had a partner. Her eyes slashed toward Drew Kane. Drew stood frozen, face pale. You helped her hide the truth, Britt accused. You hid test results. You destroyed medical notifications. You blocked Nina's access to Willow at the worst possible time. Willow gasped, shaking uncontrollably. Drew, she whispered. You too? Drew opened his mouth but couldn't speak. Britt continued mercilessly. And while you were keeping secrets, Willow was dying. Her time was running out. Michael's chest heaved. Nina sobbed, falling to her knees. Jocelyn cried silently. Carly couldn't even breathe. And Willow felt like her heart was collapsing. Drew stepped forward, voice shaking. Britt, you don't understand. Shut up. Britt screamed, stabbing a finger into his chest. You don't get to talk. You don't get to excuse what you did. She turned to Willow. You almost needed a second transplant. You almost didn't survive the chemo. All because they hated Nina more than they loved you. Willow sobbed into Michael's chest. Her cries echoed painfully. Nina crawled toward Willow, sobbing, I'm so sorry, baby, I'm so sorry. Willow screamed, don't touch me. Silence dropped again, violent and heavy. Britt looked at Drew with pure venom. You're not a hero. You're not a protector. You're a coward who let an innocent woman almost die. Drew's hands shook. Carly finally shouted, enough. Britt, stop it. Britt whirled on her. No. You stop. Her voice cracked with the power of someone who survived hell. You kept a mother from her dying daughter. You nearly cost Willow her life. You destroyed Nina's chance to save her child. Then she delivered the blow that shattered the room. And now? Drew Kane is going to run for his life. Everyone froze. What? Michael whispered. Drew's heart slammed into his ribs. Britt crossed her arms. Oh, did Carly not tell you this part? The SEC is already onto you. Your insider trading secret is out. And with what I have on this flash drive. Drew is going down. Hard. Carly let out a strangled scream. Willow clutched her chest. Michael's eyes turned murderous. Nina stared in disbelief. Drew Kane, Britt said. You'd better start running. And Drew bolted. Right in the middle of Willow's baptism and wedding. He ran. Out the back door. Into the storm.